The local bird flu case means no fresh chicken for Lunar New Year. Some maids work the system for better pay. And 4 more mainland activists are put on trial. Good evening. Just moments ago, the Secretary for Food and Health confirmed that live poultry imported from neighbouring Guangdong province is infected with the H7N9 avian influenza virus. As a result, 20,000 live chickens will have to be killed at the Chengsha poultry wholesale market. And that means many Hong Kongers will be forced to break with the tradition of eating chicken over the Chinese New Year holiday.
The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department has confirmed that a sample taken from a chicken imported from the mainland was tested positive for H7N9 avian influenza virus PCR test.
This marks the first time in Hong Kong that live poultry has tested positive for the H7N9 avian flu virus. Contingency plans dictate that all live chickens at the Chengsha poultry wholesale market will be culled.
The consignment of live poultry carries H7A1 virus would be destroyed tomorrow. The live poultry co-stored with that consignment in the wholesale market will also be destroyed. The total number of chickens concerned amounts to 20,000.
Because it's been rendered an infected zone, for the next 21 days the market will be closed for cleansing. Imports of live poultry from the farm in Foshan, where the infected batch came from, will be suspended for the same period. Mainland authorities will conduct an investigation to ensure the farm complies with all food safety standards. And only when both sides agree it is safe to do so will imports resume. Exacerbating the issue, local poultry farms will also be forced to stop supplying markets with live poultry for 21 days. That means absolutely no live chicken will be supplied in Hong Kong during the Lunar New Year period. The Immigration Department turned down 160 applications last year from foreign domestic helpers after having their original contracts terminated. The Director of Immigration insists some helpers deliberately get themselves sacked so they can find jobs with better pay. By law, foreign domestic helpers have to leave Hong Kong after 2 weeks once their contracts are terminated. That is, unless they are involved in litigation and are waiting for a hearing. Helpers may sue their employers for unpaid wages, untaken leave days, or refusal to buy an airline ticket for them to go home. But the Immigration Department suspects that not all of the cases are genuine and some of the helpers are just buying time in Hong Kong to look for another job. Director of Immigration Eric Chan says they get suspicious if a helper does not show up for a hearing 3 times in a row, in which case they will not be allowed to extend their stay in Hong Kong or apply to work for a different employer. In the second half of last year, the Immigration Department investigated 160 such cases. Chan says some helpers do not actually want to work for the employer who applied for their working visa in the first place. They would go out of their way to get fired so that they can look for other jobs in which they can get higher salaries. The Immigration Department also says it rejects all applications for foreign domestic helper permits by employers who are suspected of abuse. But the Labour Department explains where a helper is unfairly dismissed, Labour officers would first try their best to mediate a positive outcome for both helper and employer. If that's unsuccessful, the case will go to the Small Claims Tribunal or the Labour Tribunal. That may well be the case for abused helper Ariwana Salistianingsi. Labour officers who've gone to Indonesia have helped her fill out the relevant forms to seek compensation. Asked why immigration officers at the airport had allowed Ariwana to leave for Indonesia without questioning her about signs of abuse in her physical appearance, this is what the immigration director had to say.
Our officers did not have this kind of thinking. According to his memory, is that he's only you can see that have some darker skin on Ariana's face, and Ariana didn't ask for any assistance, and our officers just thought that maybe she had some skin disease.
Shares on the local stock market fell to a 5-month low today as the broad sell-off in emerging markets escalates. The Hang Seng Index ended the day 473 points, or 2.1% lower, at 21,976, its lowest close since August 30th. Asian markets finished mostly lower, with investors seeking havens such as the Japanese yen and gold. Stocks have been propped up in recent years thanks to huge efforts from the world's central banks to inject the financial system with liquidity. But with the end for those policies approaching, some investors are fleeing stocks. A planned special session of the Ukrainian parliament is doing little to raise hopes of ending that country's political crisis. As James Aiken reports, lawmakers are preparing for the Tuesday session amid warnings the country's justice minister may call for a state of emergency. 4 more activists on the mainland went on trial today accused of disturbing public order after urging officials to reveal their assets. The trials of members of the New Citizens movement have sparked criticism from the international community. This comes only a day after the movement's founder, Xu Zhiyong, was jailed for 4 years on similar charges. Another supporter of the movement, Hu Jia, was taken away by authorities yesterday. The 4 activists on trial advocated working within the system to press for change, including urging officials to publish details of assets. One anti-government protest leader in Thailand was shot dead as demonstrators in Bangkok tried to block early voting ahead of next week's snap elections. It brings the death toll to 10 since protesters took to the streets in November, vowing to force caretaker Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra to step down. Sonia Artero reports. It's official. Egypt will hold a presidential election ahead of parliamentary polls. This, as Egypt's top military council is endorsing a presidential run by their army chief. Parliamentary elections were supposed to happen first, under the timetable agreed after the army deposed Islamist President Mohamed Morsi in July. Interim President Adli Mansour said they amended the roadmap because the country needs a president at this time of economic and political crisis. But opponents say it risks creating a president with unchecked power. The move also increases the likelihood that Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will be elected president. Sisi is confident he can win the votes of those who backed Morsi for president in 2012. He says he represented the official change from the era of former autocratic leader Hosni Mubarak, who was ousted in the revolutions that swept the Arab world. The presidential race is expected to begin in March. And in sport, some mouth-watering clashes to look forward to in the FA Cup, including a date between Arsenal and Liverpool in the 5th round. Here's Tony Sabine with that and more. And on to basketball. Chris Bosh scored 24 points, LeBron James added 18 as the Miami Heat rolled past the San Antonio Spurs. And finally, Hong Kong will welcome the Year of the Horse this Friday with a colourful parade in Tsim Sha Tsui. Here's Stephanie Tsui with what's in store this Lunar New Year holiday. On to the weather. Cooler temperatures will prevail tomorrow, fluctuating between 15 and 20 degrees. And we can expect even colder weather as the week progresses. That's all from our newsroom. Thank you for watching. Good night.